Go. All right,
Welcome
what's up?
back.
Hey, Briggsy, jumping the gun, baby. We can tell you're excited tonight, man, because tonight we're talking about a topic that we're both really interested in here. This is horror's hidden gems, and we're going to be discussing lesser talked about horror movies that we think, deserve a little more attention. So even if you do know about them, we still think it's kind of criminal that these movies don't get talked about as much as they should. What do you think about this topic, Briggs?
Hey, this is the thing I make videos for, man. To make people aware, to make horror fans aware of some true masterpieces, some films with really scary elements in them that may escape their notice, may have escaped a lot of history's notice.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Once again, we are going to get into the comments. If a super chat jumps right out at us, we'll try to, mention it as soon as it happens. But for the most part, they'll come a little bit later, so that way it doesn't interrupt the flow of the podcast. But we will say hello to Dragon Blues and JK right off the bat. Okay, Briggsy, I'm going to get into my first pick. Now, once again, you may have heard of these, but they deserve a little more attention. And if you haven't heard of them, you should check them out, because I don't think we put anything on our lists that we consider bad. We actually like all of these movies, right, Briggs?
Oh yeah, we like them a lot. Like each one of these picks is a 7 or a 6.5 at minimum is what I'd say, which is, to my mind, worth at least one watch. And in my personal flavor, certainly a rewatch as well.
Yeah. Okay, Briggs, I like to hear that, man. I like that you put so much thought into this list, dude. So first off, I'm going to start with Evolver. Now, horror was in kind of a slump there in the 90s, but one thing it did give us was some technological horror. And Evolver is one of those. It follows the story of like this prodigy of a gamer, who is constantly getting high scores or whatnot at his local arcade, which is just booming with popularity. It's kind of nice and refreshing to see teenagers at the arcade again, Briggs. But, he's just plowing through this game until a company takes notice in him. So they send him a robot which will play a competitive shooting game with him. It's kind of like battling it out Nerf style with friends, or paintball or something like that. And this robot, as he beats the robot, they kind of play laser tag with each other. The robot will evolve and become harder to defeat over time. And the kid kind of gets caught up in the whole novelty of having a robot, and kid also happens to be pretty tech savvy himself, and starts to delve into the programming of this robot and sees that there might be a lot more to the eye. There might be some the robot might be a little bit evil, Briggs.
Now, is it evil? Is it evil, or is it just a glitch?
It
Like,
is. Well,
is it?
it's kind of it turns out like the robot was built for the military, and they're kind of testing it out on this gamer to see how well it would do in the battlefield.
Ah, one of those.
Oh, yes, but the movie is fun. It's funny. And the 90s didn't give us a lot, but this is a good timeless movie, in my opinion.
Would you call it more fun or more suspenseful?
Both.
Nice.
Yeah. I think it checks both of those boxes for me, man. The teenagers are fun. There's another rival gamer that, of course, wants to come over to his house and check it out. And then these are teenage boys, too, so you got to imagine, like, if they have access to a robot that they can somewhat control or whatnot, what would they do with that robot, Breeze? Especially considering that this robot does have, like, a camera system built into it.
They had a lot of fun with it, as I recall. It was PG-13, wasn't it?
I think so. I think so, and things do get really hectic. There, you know, it's not a total gore fest or something like that. It does play more of the suspense card.
Mm.
So Evolver.
Thought it did really well at that.
Oh, yeah.
The first one I wanted to bring up myself was one from 1969. It was kind of a proto-slasher. In some ways, it feels sort of Giallo-inspired, but it's based on an Edgar Allan Poe story, and it's called The Oblong Box. When you normally think of something based on an Edgar Allan Poe story, it's usually something that's going to be, in a lot of cases at least, kind of campy, or at least kind of dramatic, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
The Oblong Box is about two brother noblemen, Julian and Sir Edward. They come back from a trip from Africa during which they've committed atrocities, and before they return, Sir Edward is cursed by one of the tribes of natives there. He's become horribly disfigured, he's become supremely ill-tempered, and he's become totally driven by his baser desires. Unfortunately, he is still wealthy and he does still have a lot of pull, so he fakes his own death to get out of his rational brother Julian, played by Vincent Price's care. And from there he's smuggled out.
Also, another Edgar Allan Poe, Vincent Price movie, huh, Briggs?
Oh yeah, but compared to a lot of them, the Oblong Box is pretty gritty, I guess you could say. It's not really gritty by the modern standard, but it has the sort of hammer horror aesthetic without the hammer horror lightheartedness to it. It's a very, like, mean sort of film. Like,
would you say it's
everybody
dark?
in the film is yeah, I would call it dark. All our principal characters have a dark side, and Sir Edward is violent, and it's not very stagey violence either. Like, it is pretty visceral for the era. It's definitely a transition piece from the 60s to the 70s.
Yeah, that does sound different than most of the Vincent Price, Edgar Allan Poe films. Now, what sort of taste would this leave in your mouth if you walked away from this movie? I mean, after you walk away from it.
After you walk away from it, it's not a movie that leaves you with a heavy feeling. Like, it's a digestible film, I won't lie, but that's kind of a positive. It's something you can watch in an afternoon. It's your daily dose of darkness, almost.
Okay. Is it a thinker? Or something like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? When I think of gritty, I think of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. When I think of dark, I think of Martyrs. Would any of those be good comparisons, or?
I wouldn't say it's closer to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre than Martyrs, because it's not much of a thinker. It is one that requires you pay attention to the plot and what our characters' motivations are, but it's not something where you have to, like, question what's happening every couple of minutes or anything of that nature. Like I said, it's digestible, it's fun, but it's not camp.
Okay.
And that, I think, is what sets the Oblong Box apart.
Very interesting, very interesting. I like Dragon Blue's comment here. She says, the Oblong Box sounds oddly dirty. Briggs, are you sneaking one under our nose here, man? Is this one of your adult horror films?
It probably has one of the deepest cleavage dresses of the era, but it's its cleavage.
Okay, now next up on my list, Briggs, is a paranormal film that really skated by us, and I hadn't seen it until you actually came and stayed with me for a few days there. And this is a heavy one, dude. I actually just finished reading the book. It is called The Entity.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my goodness, dude, this one, like I said, man, skated right by me until we watched it, and it is heavy. It is dark, and it follows the story of a mother who is violently and brutally assaulted by an entity in a home she shares with her 3 children. And when
Demon, perhaps?
yes, perhaps, and I'm telling you now, man, this movie hits you like a baseball bat. But I mean, it
The
gets
soundtrack hits you like a baseball bat.
the soundtrack, the soundtrack, the mood, the heaviness. I mean, you see this woman being sexually violated numerous times in front of her children in broad daylight at night. It doesn't matter. This thing shows absolutely no mercy. Very heavy, very depressing feeling, and it sort of teeters that line of, is this really happening or is she crazy? And it's almost because she's been like gaslighted.
And either way, it's cruel. It's a cruel picture.
It is, man. It will leave you feeling like, what the hell did I just watch?
At the same time, it doesn't feel really it doesn't really feel exploitive. Really, it's got a plot to it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It really stresses the investigation angle as well, like more so than I would have expected from a film about what it is.
Yeah, man. That's what, and this movie came out in the 80s. And we've seen a ton of paranormal films and a lot of takes on paranormal. Man, this one is truly unique. I think. And I'm telling you, man, it's one that goes unseen, unnoticed. Nobody talks about it. Like I said, it took us a while to see it, man, but once you've seen it, you never forget it.
It's tough to fit a film like that into casual conversation, but if you're looking for something to like beat you over the head with a baseball bat, like that's one you should seek out.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. So for any of you all out there who need a good paranormal film to check out, and you're prepared for the heaviness that it is going to bring, and something you haven't seen before, The Entity.
Now, the next one I wanted to bring up is called Images. This one might be it doesn't seem to be the most well known around horror circles. I feel it to be more appreciated among general film buffs since it was made by Robert Altman. It was his kind of take on a psychotic breakdown film. It's about a children's book author who retreats to this her vacation home in the woods to work on a book. While she's there, she has visions of not only her husband, but of 2 previous lovers of hers, that she starts becoming confused as to who is who. And as the film goes on, she becomes more comfortable with these delusions. She stops being as freaked out by them, and she becomes more comfortable becoming violent with them.
Ooh.
It's not the scariest mental breakdown film out there. I'd give that honor to Repulsion, but Images is definitely one of the best made of that subgenre. Cinematography's beautiful. The score is by John Williams. You can imagine, like, he's good at any genre. He does a stellar horror score. The color grade is lush. And it's just, it feels like an A24 film almost, but I feel it doesn't fall into the trap of trying to be more melancholy than creepy, because this one does leave you with a feeling after it's over, and it's not depressing in the same way something like The Entity is, or even something like Repulsion is, but it's kind of in the sense of the fear of always having to doubt what is real, and that's Robert Altman's Images leaves you with.
Jeez, man. So, okay, so could you give us, just curious here, could you maybe give us like a... Okay, so if somebody said like, dude, is this one of those like bullshit dream sequence movies that can like get by with anything and screw you over, when it all comes to life? So what I'm trying to say here, man, if you could give us like an explanation of a scene in it that really sticks out to you, that would like entice me to watch it. We know how I feel about dream sequences typically. What would it be, man?
A scene which stands out to me is one in which our lead protagonist, and it's hard to remember who's who because each one is like named after the other's actors. It's real artsy that way.
Oh, okay. Like Blair Witch 2.
But it's when which one was it? Oh yes, it's when Catherine is seeing Marcel enter the house. Marcel is her ex-lover who she knows is not an image, who she knows he's alive. She does not know that he is going to interact with her. He's going to come on to her. And we're, of course, wondering if we can trust what's going on the screen, if this is the real person stopping by, or if this is purely a hallucination. And he's about to take off his sweater. Yeah. She picks up a kitchen knife and she charges him and she plunges it into his chest as he's taking his shirt off.
Oh!
And he just plops to the ground in like the most...
Jeez!
least mystical way you can imagine.
So this is really intense.
It's not... I don't want to like build you up for nothing. It has its moments, and it's got its white knuckle moments, but it's not kind of like a thrill ride beginning to end. It will let you relax for a second or two before starting things back up again.
Dang. Okay, so maybe heavy would be a better...
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay. That's got me intrigued, man.
It's one that'll leave you feeling it in your pit.
Oh. Well, okay, Briggs. My next pick, I'm going with this one. Night of the Creeps. Came out in the 80s. Has a great 80s vibe to it, man. Great 80s vibe, and it almost has like a National Lampoon's feel to it. Like one of those comedic movies, the Vacation series. I'm not familiar with the other ones, but that sort of humor. And follows the story of like things from outer space have landed on Earth that can get into human beings and make them zombies, I guess, for lack of a better term. It's like parasites that incubate in the brain and turns people into zombies. And this can be live people, it can be dead people, whatever. They just want to get to some brains, baby. But it is a great example of comedic horror done right. All the characters are very memorable. Go ahead.
Does it have more of a zombie vibe or more of an alien invader vibe?
Dude, it balances both really well. And it does, and here's another thing it does, man. It has great comedic elements, but it's also serious and has its heavy moments too. There's one character that, Detective Miller, played by legendary horror icon Tom Atkins, this is his best role, bar none, for me.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I love him in this movie, but, man, he suffers from PTSD, and you really feel for him, and at times you're like, does he cover that up with his humor?
Scenes I thought with featuring him in the past, it was really creative how they did the black and white kind of like 50s sci-fi horror aesthetic with that. But at the same time, it's used as such a dark, sad basis
I,
for a man in present day.
yeah, man, absolutely. And you see, like, and it balances it so well because you see the toll that this depression and the PTSD is taking on him, but at the same time they mix it with humor so it doesn't get too damn dark, and it shows that he is a really good guy despite some of the things that have happened to him. And like I said, man, the characters are fantastic. There's some Easter eggs in there for horror fans at that time, which is really great. It's not too heavy-handed. It's like, you know, some of the characters might be named Cynthia Cronenberg or Christopher
John Carpenter.
Romero. Yeah, you know, but it's not too heavy-handed. It doesn't take away from absolutely anything. It's just like, holy crap, and you're you know, connecting the dots like Christopher Romero, you know, stuff like that. But it doesn't take anything away. It doesn't get you thinking about all these other films or anything like that. It is its own thing, and it's great, man.
Yeah, it feels like it doesn't feel like it's spoofing on any specific kind of film in particular. It feels like its own beast.
Absolutely, man. Comedic horror done right. If you like stuff like the National Lampoon's Vacation movies, which oddly enough, one of our main characters is in, he's Rusty Griswold in European Vacation. But if you like Return of the Living Dead, or something like, you know, Night of the Comet, or something like that, then I think you're really going to like Night of the Creeps.
Oh
Very
yeah.
clever, too. Very clever. It's not just cheese. It's not just, you know, straight up comedy. It's very clever in the way they pull it off.
No shit. Like they put a lot of thought into the story. They didn't phone it in. Uh, I thought the actors were really good in that one, actually.
Oh, absolutely, man. The acting is phenomenal. The characters are memorable. We even have an appearance from Dick Miller.
Oh yeah.
You know, so tons of good stuff in that one, man. And running gags. Whew, love it. Love it. Check out Night of the Creeps if you have not.
Um, Speaking of films within films and references and such, uh, my entry from the 80s is 1987's Anguish, which actually begins as a film within a film about an optometrist, an incompetent optometrist orderly, um, whose mother is a psychic and a hypnotist and drives him to kill the people who criticize him at work. And what
Jeez.
is revealed about 20 minutes in is that we're watching this film with an audience, and the audience are characters in themselves. At the center is this, I believe, high school or college girl. Um, but she watches the film and she begins to get actually affected by the spell of this optometrist's mother. And she notices other people in the audience begin to as well. And not to stop at two plots, eventually there's a shooter who comes into the theater. And he begins to randomly massacre everyone who's come to watch the film.
Holy crap.
It's, in terms of a film and a film within a film, it's probably one of the best examples. Like, I would watch the movie within a movie, like, uninterrupted.
Mm-hmm.
But the scenes outside the film don't make you disappointed that you're only watching, like, a fake movie. They, like, they work really well in sync with one another. They make you interested in what's going on in these actual theater goers. And then the twist with the shooter coming in is such a shock and caps off the film in such a random and yet such an entertaining way. It's really one of the most unique horror films I've ever seen.
Well,
It's
I gotta say, Briggs, I haven't even seen this movie. And, like, you have just spoiled what happens for me. But even so, man, it's so damn intriguing that I don't care. It's like, holy shit, I want to see how they pull this off.
I couldn't sell it without spoiling it, man, because those two big twists, and I'd say that every third of the film, are what makes it what it is, and they're
Yeah.
kind of the selling point and kind of the point of why I keep rewatching it.
Well, yeah, man, like I said, even though I know what's going to happen, I don't even care. It's like, it sounds so intriguing that I still want to watch it.
You want me to sell you on it, dude?
Sell me on it, Briggsy.
In the film within the film, the optometrist's mother is played by Zelda Rubinstein.
What?
And it is her best role after Poltergeist.
Holy crap. Even better when she also plays a mother in a Tales from the Crypt episode.
It's very in line with that. She is one creepy mother.
Oh my god, I bet you, dude, she was so creepy in that. So the film within a film thing is interesting. Would you put it up there with something like a New Nightmare? Could it be comparable to that in any way?
This movie dick slaps New Nightmare, especially in terms of pulling off its ending and not just swerving us into some fairy tale bullshit.
Damn, so would you say that it cucks New Nightmare, Briggs?
I would say that Anguish cucks New Nightmare.
Oh,
Steve.
shit, that's a big claim right there, Briggs. But I don't care because I'm not a huge fan of New Nightmare, but I know you like it.
I like scenes in New Nightmare. It really does foul up the ending.
Okay. Here we go, because, speaking of cucks, I think this podcast is starting to go off the rails here, but no, seriously, my next pick, I'm going to say, damn it, it cucks the paranormal and found footage genre at the time it came out, because, like, there was so much bullshit coming out that was just flooding the market, especially in the found footage realm of things. Grave Encounters did it, and by golly, it did it right, Briggs, because Grave Encounters follows a crew of paranormal investigators who are trying to get their new show off the ground. And they're going to these different locations, and you get the idea that these sons of bitches are kind of putting it on a little bit, Briggs. They're clearly bullshitting to try and drive the show up the ratings ladder. And with that being said, you do get some great comedic elements, and it's going to make you question, all of the other paranormal research shows out there, paranormal investigation shows, specifically stuff like Ghost Adventures. You could clearly see that they drew some inspiration from shows like that. And, but, even though it does have these great comedic elements, you get these great actors. And you get, even they even bring in a psychic at one point, and he's freaking hilarious. But, man, holy crap, does it take a very, and I mean very dark and scary turn quick.
Oh, yeah.
What?
This could have easily been the premise of some direct-to-video bullcrap.
Absolutely.
Poorly acted. Badly plotted, but Grave Encounters, it's everything you would want an actual paranormal investigation show to actually be, but they never turn out that way.
Well, except for the whole part where, maybe they die at the end, but...
What? Of course I wouldn't want that. How could you even...
No, not us. No, but yeah, dude. It's so crazy. You do, despite what they're doing for views and all this, you do fall in love with the characters and then become emotionally invested in them because it's like we see what they're trying to do, man, and then it goes dark and scary so quick. You're like, these sons of bitches had no idea what the hell they were getting themselves into when they went into to investigate this asylum. Like,
No kidding. Like, what I really enjoyed about Grave Encounters was how when the film took early after the film took a turn, it didn't really try and scare you by introducing a bunch of jump scares. It introduced the threat of them actually starving to death because they can't get out and they are hungry.
yeah, man, isn't that wild? That is, if you would have asked me the question, well, how would you, like, what's one of the scariest scenes from it? I'd be like, dude, when you realize, like, time doesn't really exist in this place. Or time is at least skewed horribly. Like, it's really weird, man, and very scary, and you get into the, like, you feel almost like you're one of the crew members, and you're like, how in the hell are we going to get out of here, guys?
It's found footage done right. Like,
Absolutely. All right, Briggsy, what have you got up next for us, man? But if you haven't, folks, watch Grave Encounters. It used to be on Netflix, I think, but now Grave Encounters 2 you can skip. But
if you've seen Grave Encounters 1, you've seen the best parts of Grave Encounters 2.
yeah, yeah.
Up next on my list, I originally was going to talk about Hardware from 1990, but I figure that's one that people have already generally know about if they start diving into the deep cuts of the 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
One you don't much hear about even there is The Resurrected,
Ooh.
which is Dan O'Bannon's first film after he made Return of the Living Dead.
And keep in mind, Dan O'Bannon does have some great ones under his belt, Breeze, because he did write the first Alien.
He wrote Alien. God, if you want to go deeper than that, he made Dead and Buried,
Mm-hmm.
which is a hell of a moody film. It's a hidden gem in its own right.
Mm-hmm.
But The Resurrected is an adaptation. It's Dan O'Bannon's adaptation of an H.P. Lovecraft story.
Ooh.
It's about this isolated man's wife. The wife of a man who's recently gone obsessed with his work. The wife hires a private detective to look into his affairs and see if what's up, why this guy's suddenly taken to himself.
Mm-hmm.
And when they investigate this guy further, they find, like, he's gone mad. Like, he's talking only in old speech patterns, and he's got a taste for raw meat. Like, insane taste for raw meat. So, they lock him up, and after that, they're looking into this guy, the research that he left behind. And from that, they discover that this figure from his past he's become obsessed with isn't who he thought he was. And they discover the reason for this guy's consuming raw meat. And it's black magic. I won't spoil much from that point because I'm just going to say the effects in The Resurrected are great, and as an H.P. Lovecraft adaptation, it's probably one of the most faithful ones out there. Like, maybe not close to the story, but faithful in tone, at least more than most.
Okay. Okay, so is it, I'm just wondering here, is it, does it kind of like tiptoe you to this point where it's like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? Or does it just shock you to the core, like when this dude's suddenly eating raw meat and...
It is a refreshingly slow burn. Like, that's one of the ways it's true to H.P. Lovecraft is it does not play its hand until after the halfway mark. And it gets there, like, bit by bit. Like, one of the more disturbing bits in the film, when they've already got this guy locked up, he's interviewing a doctor, and at the end we see his teeth, and he's gnashed them down to little nubs.
Damn.
And he keeps gnashing them tighter.
Okay, very, very cool. Don't want to spoil too much, though, because that one... that one sounds like one to watch. I mean, very... You know, if you're into that slow burn style of horror, anyway, and...
It's not just slow burn, it's got payoff to it. Like, don't get me wrong. When I said the effects were good, like, I won't say top-notch, but it's got something to show off.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah, and that... You know, the eating raw meat kind of sticks with me because it reminds me of Slither. And
Which reminds me of Night of the Creeps.
Hey, yeah, there you go. Very good. And it reminds me of the dude who wanted to eat raw meat in 30 Days of Night, who also has kind of that mouth thing going on. Like, I can't remember if his teeth were necessarily messed up, but I do remember at one point, the dude starts foaming at the mouth. You know, definitely a weird guy, but the raw meat thing could, so you know, you can see it can be pulled off in you know, multiple ways. So okay, Briggs. Now my next one, and this is one that I can't delve into too much because I haven't seen it a lot, and that's one reason it's on the damn list, because I do remember liking this movie. And I do think it's a good movie, and I never hear this one talked about, and it's called Splinter. And I think there's at least a couple that might go by this title, and oddly enough, maybe came out around the same time. But the one I'm talking about, and I do believe you've seen this one,
long time back, and I don't remember much.
Yeah, and I think you would agree, you know, that this is a good movie, doesn't ever get talked about. And
the effects are so much their own thing. Like, the monster by itself is such a draw.
Yeah.
If you want a creative creature design, definitely check out Splinter.
Yeah, so the story, I'm going to do my best to describe this film. Like I said, it's been so long, and I haven't seen it as often as some of the other films on this list. Is these criminals, and one of which I believe is like a drug addict that's going through horrible withdrawal.
That sounds right.
Carjack a couple that are maybe on their honeymoon or something. Like, either way, they're a couple. They carjack them, and they end up going to this gas station. And they end up having to hole up inside of this said gas station because monsters begin attacking the place and trying to get in.
Do you remember where the monsters come from?
I don't remember exactly where the monsters come from, but I do remember the monsters, and they are very, very unique.
Splinter.
Yes.
If you like a film with a claustrophobic setting, it takes place in a tiny marketplace. You got scenes of people trying to hide in freezers from these things.
Yeah, it's and you know, it's that thing where these people, you know, some of them, you know, the people who carjack these others and the drug addict going through withdrawal and stuff, they aren't good people. But it balances that line, man, of where you start to feel like sympathetic for them and you start to root for them in a way, and they have to band together with the carjacking victims and the people, you know, inside the gas station or marketplace or whatever it was, man. It's really cool film.
Reminds me of Mosquito.
Oh God, yeah, something. But Mosquito is very, very cheesy, campy, and this movie's
We,
serious.
yeah,
And we
I
do like
still
Mosquito.
recommend Mosquito.
Yeah, me and Briggs have had numerous Mosquito watchings together, and it's funny. Funny ass movie, very cheesy. I don't think either of us would say it's good, or we expect other people to think it's good, but it's fun to us, and we like
It's good enough to be entertained by it.
it.
Like, I'd recommend it if you just want a fun ass monster movie. Like, it's very much worth the watch for that.
And the full movie, I think, used to be on YouTube.
Oh God, I don't remember. I think it's got there's a version on there now. The last one I had checked had like hard Portuguese subtitles or
Oh, I actually have a friend. I know we're getting a little bit off topic, but Mosquito can kind of make it on this
something.
list in its own right. But
That's a shared entry right there. Let's
Yeah.
move right along.
Well, I do have a friend that has the son of a bitch in 4K, I want to say, Briggs, and it's not. Or not 4K, excuse me. He on Blu-ray is remastered and all that, and it is not. It doesn't have that same feel to it. It's sort of like how the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If you pretty it up too damn much, it's not the same movie.
Oh God, that's sad.
Yeah, so,
We need the VHS version.
yeah, there you go, man. Moving along, Breeze, what have you got next for us?
The last one I had planned to mention today was 2003's Love Object, and if you know me as either a person or as a critic online, I love the movie Magic. It's definitely in my top 5 films of all time. It's about a man who becomes obsessed with his ventriloquist dummy. He develops a secondary personality that manifests itself within it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a suspenseful as hell film. It's a hidden gem in its own right, but whenever we talk about it, I always talk about two similar films. Pin
Magic?
from 1988 and Love Object from 2003. Love Object is the lowest budget and, comparatively speaking, the worst made of those three films. But I think for the suspense factor alone, like the creep factor, it's worth at least one watch. It's about an office worker who is completely terrified to ask someone out. As a substitute, he buys himself an expensive, like, multi-$1,000 personalized sex doll instead.
He got him one of those fancy Chinese sex dolls, Briggs.
It comes in this big foam coffin, and when he first pulls the straps off, its jack-off hand just shoots up.
Oh
Like
God!
It's gonna go for his throat.
it's jack off.
He becomes obsessed with this thing. He gets a picture of it, like, made by the creators that signed it, like she signed it for him.
Oh God!
At the same time, he's put on a group project at work, and he's assigned a lady who cares as much about the job as he does, and they get along, they gel very well together, they play off each other, and they kind of, like, more or less ace this project, and at the same time they start up this relationship. But, as often happens, Kenneth, our office worker friend, he can't let go of the past.
Oh
And things
shit!
evolve from there.
Oh God! The fucking Chinese super expensive sex doll's gonna get jealous and go nuts, ain't she?
I'm not gonna... No spoilers past that point, my friend. It don't turn out like magic, I'll tell you that much.
Oh shit! So, whew. So, Briggs has rattled us here a little bit. I mean, Damn, so I will say this, though, Briggs, because I haven't seen Love Object yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I searched it up on IMDb. And I will say the damn picture they show of that fucking thing, like, number one has nothing on those damn super expensive Chinese sex dolls, which makes it even, which are creepy in their own right, but goddamn, the picture of that sex doll is so damn creepy. Oh my god, he owns it. Did y'all see that? Like when I mentioned that shit, Briggs's jack off hand went right up and pulled the DVD out. Like, I'm proud of this shit, boys.
How do you think how do you think I even heard of it? I found it at my used shop.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's a yeah, man. So, like I said, the picture of that damn thing is disturbing. I would go as far to say, like, if I saw of the mannequin, like,
it's haunting, and you get to see it dead on in the eyes at multiple points.
Oh my god! Well, and then another thing it reminds me of, Briggs, is would you say it could be comparable to necromantic?
Oh god.
I don't think nothing compares to that piece of shit. Like, if you're suggesting this movie, then it can't be comparable to necromantic, but sounds similar. Oh god. But Briggs, I want to, since and you said that was the last one you planned on talking about, we do have a little bit of extra time. And I have more on my list that, I could talk about. But I do have another shared entry that I think both of us love. And could very well make this list, dude. Are you ready for this, man? I'm ready to see that surprised look on your face. Maniac.
No surprise there, dude.
Well, I'm saying, like, surprised that we overlooked it, that we didn't, But that could be to us, like, this is such a good movie and just such a badass movie that we forget other people. It skates right by them.
I can't even register it as a hidden gem. I mean, if somebody asked me what one of my favorite horror films are, Maniac.
Yeah, great movie. It's just, it doesn't get a lot of attention whatsoever. And a shit ton of people don't even know about it, and it may be too hardcore for some people, I will say. There are some, I mean, in multiple ways, though, like, there is great gore. This is Tom Savini explodes his own damn head in this movie, for one, which is amazing, but man, it is very freaking heavy mentally. The anguish that we see our, protagonist and antagonist go through. Pretty damn deep.
One of those that can balance it well. Like, it doesn't focus too much on trying to make you feel sympathy for Frank. Like, it does that, like, awesomely with what it does. Like, in his little interludes when he's finished killing and he goes back to bed. But at the same time, every death scene has a great suspense scene behind it, and then a awful payoff. Like,
yeah.
Do you want to talk about the ending?
Well, we should tell people what it's even about first. So it follows the story of Frank Zito, who, and I mean, it's a somewhat, you might think it's a basic story, but it's done so damn well. You won't understand until you watch it, but Frank Zito, who is this maniac, like a serial killer, who goes around and kills young women, and it's very suspenseful, very disturbing in a multitude of ways, and he is just tormented so much by his past that you can't help but feel like, man, what would this dude be like if he hadn't grown up that way? And I think you see, he does at one point have a love interest in the movie, And I think you see hints of what Frank's life may have been like if his childhood were a little more normal. I don't think there is a good, you know, I don't think anybody's perfectly normal, or what could you consider normal, but at least if his childhood hadn't have been that damn disturbing.
Now, we saw a side of him that was unaffected by that trauma in his past, and it made you want that evil that compelled him to, like, kill people night after night just to replicate his abuser in his own mind.
Yeah, so I don't, not to interrupt you there, Briggs, but I don't think we even need to spoil or mention the ending, because you get the feeling, like, right from the damn beginning of this movie, that either way, this shit will not end well for anyone involved.
No.
Very dark and heavy, man, and great movie, goes unseen. If you put on your big boy britches, you want something good to watch, watch Maniac, but be prepared. Briggs, another one I'm going to go into is sort of a double pick here, man, and I hope you agree with me on these.
Mm-hmm.
In the 90s, we got both of these, and they come to us from John Carpenter, but have kind of like not gotten anywhere near as much attention as his other films, but both of these are good, man, and I'm going with John Carpenter's Vampires and In the Mouth of Madness.
Vampires is one that I was kind of surprised by. It's got one of the hardest core protagonists I've seen, like one of the most ruthless good guys to, like, not suffer for his hardness, and kind of like maintain that throughout the film. Like, to have it be painted as a more or less necessary thing in his line of work.
Yeah, man. So Vampires is pretty basic in its plot, but it's just a good movie. It is a John Carpenter movie, so there's a certain level of quality there that you can expect, and that's good music, good cinematography, good characters. And the plot is that basically you follow a group of vampire hunters who are traveling to find, like, the master vampire to put an end to them for all of time, and in doing so, they wake up the master vampire, and things come to light, and it's pretty crazy, man. But a John Carpenter film, so you can expect, he pulls it off masterfully in every area of filmmaking, really. And In the Mouth of Madness is another one that's came to us in the 90s and has a it's different.
In terms of being an effective horror film, like, John Carpenter has had three that are indisputable, like Halloween, The Thing, and In the Mouth of Madness, and all three of them take a different angle.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
In the Mouth of Madness, it's kind of like Carpenter's Lovecraft adaptation.
Exactly, man. That's what I started to mention it right after you were talking about, what was it, Repulsion?
The Resurrected.
The Resurrected. I don't know why I want to keep going to Repulsion, but but yeah, I mean, it is. It's like, it follows an insurance claim investigator, I guess, who tries to track down people who are, filing fraudulent claims. And so this company, this publishing company, has had their biggest author, whom is the biggest author in the world, ends up going missing. So they find this dude who is great at, find out what the hell happened to people. And, man, on his hunt for this author, it gets pretty freaking wild, Briggs.
He goes down the rabbit hole, as it were.
He definitely does. You start questioning what's real, what is reality? Did this guy write reality? his books have an effect on people, man.
Now that's spoiler territory, Bo.
It is, but I mean, you get it very early on. It's not exactly because it starts out. You see that his books have this effect on his fans very early on. Like they can't differentiate what's reality and what's not. Very early on, like within the first 15 minutes, you get that. So, okay, Breeks, now did you have any more that you wanted to list out, or do you want to keep stealing items off my list here?
Hey, I was going to say we're coming up on an hour, so...
We are, so, another one that I think we could share here, Briggs, is Buried Alive.
The one that was impossible, that's still, to my knowledge, pretty much impossible to find anywhere.
Pretty damn much, unfortunately. I think both of us were lucky and caught it on television a long-ass time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And, but that story, if anyone even could find it, followed a loving husband who dies and ends up being buried alive, only to find out that his wife moved on fairly damn quickly, and even too quickly. Turns out there was a fox in the henhouse, Briggs. She was cheating on her husband. They decided to kill him for like insurance money or something like that, and they didn't get the job done, and this dude comes back from the grave and seeks out vengeance.
And it is one of the most... It's one of the most inventive TV movies I've seen. Like, it is an elaborate kind of revenge plot for being a TV film. If you've seen Tales from the Crypts, Blind Alleys, or I forget what it's called in the TV series, it's very akin to that, where this revenge plot goes.
Yeah. Now, just to go do a quick rundown, because we are coming up on the hour, other items I had on my list, I won't delve into them too damn much. The Blob Remake, which was brought to us from the 80s, which I really like. I really think it's fun. Night of the Demons, and I'm going to give you a double feature. Absolutely love the original Night of the Demons. Very damn scary film. But I'm pulling a double feature here, Briggs, because one that gets overlooked a hell of a lot if Night of the Demons gets overlooked is damn sure a lot of people, even people who like Night of the Demons, don't know that it did have sequels. And Night of the Demons 2 is a damn good sequel, and it takes a very different direction than the first.
I would not consider this a spoiler because it's something you also learn very early, but if you like sequels like Evil Dead 2, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, or Bride of Chucky, like, Night of the Demons 2 is the most impressive and yet most overlooked of that kind of genre of comedic sequels to effective horror films.
Well, here's what I would compare it to in a way. I almost wonder if Robert Rodriguez watched this before he made From Dusk Till Dawn.
God, I could see that.
Because there is some really funny stuff, especially in the second half of From Dusk Till Dawn, when it's like, okay, we're warming up to, even though they're assholes, we're warming up to Seth Gecko and Rich, and all them, and because there's even a part, Briggs, where characters in Night of the Demons 2 even fill up balloons with holy water, and that's how they go after these demons. So, and they have like super soakers too, I think. There's a nun with nunchucks.
It's such a fun movie. Like, anybody who didn't want to say, who thought to themselves, hey, Night of the Demons was great, but I don't think I'm going to give the sequels a chance, definitely at least check out Part 2.
Yes,
I don't know why it doesn't have a better reputation than it does.
I don't either, and just keep in mind that it is a very different movie. The first one is truly terrifying, fun, but definitely scary as hell. The sequel is very funny and doesn't take itself seriously at all. Next up, Briggs, I was going with the Critters, and I will say the Critters franchise.
Even 3 and 4, Bo?
3 and 4 are not as good as 1 and 2 in my book, but because the Critter series kind of gets overlooked, so I'm going with the whole franchise. I do like them all to an extent, but yeah, go ahead.
One question I was going to ask you if you got to the Critter series is 1 your favorite? Or which one's your favorite?
1 is my favorite, but 2 is really up there, man. It's so damn fun and funny. So, next up, Feast, which follows a story of people in a bar that is being attacked by monsters, and it's a relatively newer one, like early 2000s or so, or mid 2000s maybe. Really, really fun and entertaining movie. Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, is a great anthology, I think.
Not a bad segment in it.
No, sir. Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Knight, which is a great, fun movie. Better watch
action
out.
Horror.
Yes, action horror. It really does. Well, William Sadler kicking ass, and you got Billy Zane, and what could possibly be his greatest role of all time, Briggs.
Spectacular effects at that.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. Love that green goo. Better Watch Out, which is a newer film, puts you in the mind of something like The Babysitter, but different.
It's Home Alone turned very dark.
Yeah, Christmas horror movie too. So if you want a good Christmas horror to watch, Better Watch Out is a good one. As Above, So Below. This could have maybe made because I do think it made it to theaters, but it's one that definitely fell off, and I don't see people talk about anymore. And I think that was a really effective horror movie. And another one, Videodrome. That doesn't get talked about, I think, as much as it should, but definitely a trippy-ass body horror movie.
I can vouch for Videodrome myself. Like, it's a very slow burn, but it'll leave you uncomfortable through the whole thing, like, as to the nature of the program that's being sent through television signals. And it's another one that toys with the perception of what's real and what's kind of your hallucination.
Long live the new flesh.
Long live the new flesh.
And Briggs, man, I'm looking here at your list. I know we're rolling through them, but a couple I will take off of your list that I would absolutely include would be Ghost Watch.
Oh, yeah. So that's a joint recommendation right there. Found footage from the 90s, and it's another one that takes the premise of a TV broadcast, plays it straight for about half the film, and then, in a very subtle manner, things start getting off.
Yes. Another one, Briggs, I'm seeing, and I've only seen it once. I would like to watch it again. And I saw it used to be on Netflix streaming, but it is Monkey Shines. And
Experiment in Fear.
And that, if I remember correctly, follows the story of a young man who is paralyzed from the waist down, newly paralyzed from the waist down, if I remember correctly. Like he's in an accident.
The neck down.
The neck down, and a trained monkey is sent in to help him around the house. And things go freaking awry with that damn monkey, man. That monkey gets out of control.
It's super intelligent as the result of this paralyzed man's experiments. However, with its super intelligence comes the human element of jealousy and possessiveness. It's very smart, and it's very jealous.
Okay, Briggs, now we are a little over the hour. We haven't ran over too much, but if there are any more movies you want to toss out there, you absolutely got to do it. Go ahead, and if not, we'll go ahead and delve into some comments here, man.
Real quick, Superstition from 1982. It's the quintessential 80s horror. It crosses the line between a monster film, slasher, haunted house, witch, everything.
Damn, a witch!
Mm-hmm.
Woof!
Got superb effects. Well, not superb effects to the degree of some of the ones we talked about, but a whole lot of effects for the low budget it had.
Okay.
Splice was one that did go to theaters as well, but it kind of disappeared from the public eye after that. It didn't get very good reviews, but I think it was one of the best ones that that decade had to offer.
Definitely unique premise.
Absolutely. It's about a husband and wife scientists who actually create a new life form out of human, scorpion, gecko, and all kinds of other DNA. And they do this without the consent or the supervision of anyone else, and they kind of try and help it grow up. And it grows up to be twisted.
Oh.
I won't go further than that. From a Whisper to a Scream is another anthology film that doesn't have a bad segment in it. All of them are very dark. Actually, the biggest complaint I have about is that parts of the final segment are like dark. You can't really tell what's going on. But
yeah.
Aside from that, it's got a great script, great mood. Check it out. Asylum Blackout, suspenseful siege horror type piece from the 2010s, doesn't get a lot of recognition. In a Glass Cage is a really twisted one. Like, it is the NC-17 version of Apt Pupil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And damn, wasn't that movie disappointing, Briggs? Apt Pupil. Like, I thought, like, from the premise of that, I was like, holy shit, that's going to be crazy, man. And then, fuck.
You should check out In a Glass Cage. It takes a similar premise. I won't say it's the same thing, but it really goes dark with it, and it develops it a lot better.
Okay, good, man, because, yeah, that was one I was pumped for when I found out about it. Probably 10 years ago, I found out about Apt Pupil. Like, I was like, oh, man, dude, that's going to be fucking crazy. And then it just was not executed that well at all.
Yeah. House of Mortal Sin, it's kind of an entertaining Catholic slasher with a dark twist. The Spiral Staircase, it's a movie from the 1940s that you can see a lot of, like, 80s slasher tropes screwed in.
Cool, man.
The Toolbox Murders, which I recommend mainly because of massacre scene early on, as well as a very good suspense scene later on in the film. Between that, it's kind of so I kept it low on my list.
So, you know what's something that stuck out to me, and I was just going to ask you, like, this is a totally random-ass question that I'd probably ask you if we were even on the damn phone, so I'm just going to throw it out there. Who cares? Splice also featured, one of the things I remember is it had the chick in it from the Dawn of the Dead remake, the blonde, the main character in the Dawn of the Dead remake. What the fuck ever happened to her? Like, I figured she was going to be like a face in horror movies there for a while, and I think Splice. Did you know of her being in anything else after that?
No, not to my knowledge. Like, I don't know much of what she's been in beyond Splice and Dawn of the Dead. Sarah Polley?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I just remember, like, people really loved her in the Dawn of the Dead remake, and we got her in Splice, and then she gone. She out of there.
Wonder what happened.
I don't know, man. All right, Briggs, let's check out some of these comments here, man, before we sign off. Let's see what we got. What up, Trav? What up, JK? Mama Bear Serpent and the Rainbow deserves a reboot. Now, that's one that definitely you don't see talked about very often, Briggs. I will say that. The House on Sorority Row. JK says Phantasm was overrated in my opinion. Briggs, are you going to take that?
I'll take that from JK.
Okay.
He's horror fan. I can see why somebody wouldn't like Phantasm.
Oh, man, not I. Let's see here, Briggs. Tom Atkin for the win. Zelda, I'm totally in. Dragon Blues, I love it, baby. Let's see. Billy Judd, Philip's death in A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 was very scary. Seeing Freddy ripping out his tendons to control him as a puppet and cutting them, sending him off the building. Yeah, man, that was a pretty damn brutal death. And also, it sucks because I would have really loved to have seen what the hell Philip's dream power would have been. Like,
I would have loved to see his dream power and Jennifer's as well.
Jennifer, like, okay, so for Philip, I could have seen him, like, controlling a bunch of different puppets to attack Freddy or something, which would have been fucking epic. Jennifer, I could see it either being really shitty, and, like, they maybe not even had an idea for what hers would have been, but maybe she could have taken on different roles, and, because she wanted to be an actress.
That would have been legit.
Yeah, so maybe she could have, like, turned into different characters and,
turned into Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, and we know Jason whipped his ass, so, I mean, I guess that would have been the end of that movie, huh? But, the 13th Wolfman says, "Hey, guys, just got here. How are things?" What's up, 13th Wolfman? Glad you made it in here, brother. Dragon Blue says this list has clearly devolved. I have a feeling that's when we were talking about the Chinese sex dolls, Briggs. That's definitely when I can picture the series going off the rails there, or the list. What about Billy Judd says? What about Leprechaun 1993? Well, Billy Judd, like, the point of the list is to talk about horror's hidden gems or films that don't get talked about as much as they should. I definitely feel like a lot of people, even mainstream people, know about Leprechaun. I mean, for God's sakes, Ice-T was in one.
Yeah, we didn't want to talk about something with a huge franchise around it already. It's more often like, well,
Yeah,
stuff that either didn't have a franchise or its sequels all went direct to video.
Yeah, I mean, Leprechaun's even had, like, a remake. I mean, so it was popular, which Maniac did too, but hell, their damn remake flew under the radar more than it should have too.
Oh shit, like, when's the last time we've talked about the Maniac remake?
Yeah, no crap, man. Billy Judd says Silent Night, Deadly Night has the protagonist Billy Chapman killing people while dressed as Santa. Yes, that does happen. Dragon Blue says, yeah, I enjoyed Maniac way more than I thought I would. Hell yeah. You know, I think that's the thing, man. It is really heavy, and it starts off really pulling no punches. You know it's going to be a heavy movie as soon as it starts, but if you can, you know, wade into that water, you really can appreciate the movie that it is.
It's sleazy, but it's not unearned sleaze. Like, it's sleazy for a reason, to put you in the mood, to show you what kind of despair these characters may know.
Oh, yeah. Daughter of Death says Maniac is really cool. I need to watch it again. Absolutely. Definitely worth rewatching. The Canadian film Deranged, I think that's what it's called, is eerie. Possibly the movie most inspired by Ed Gein. Okay. That's one I don't think I've heard of, Briggs.
I'd heard of it, never got around to watching it, but its full title is Deranged Confessions of a Necrophile.
Okay. Okay. That's creepy. Billy Judd, or JK says, Billy Judd, I always thought that the Mother Superior figure was scarier than Billy. Holy crap, Mother Superior is a damn memorable character. Like, she will, once you've seen Silent Night, Deadly Night,
yeah,
you will not forget Mother Superior. She is a damn force. Dragon Blues, Vampires is super fun, agreed, but In the Mouth of Madness is excellent.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Vampires is a fun project for Carpenter. It felt like Mouth of Madness was him firing on all barrels to me.
Yeah. JK says that he actually quite liked John Carpenter's Ghosts of Mars, which is another one I feel like flies under the radar, Briggs.
I need to give it a watch, man. Like, I just can't judge it based on what I remember from it now.
Yeah. Yeah, so, Billy Judd says she's just a nun, in reference to Mother Superior, and, totally disagree. Dragon Blue says, not like any of the nuns at the Catholic school I went to. Totally agree. Mother Superior is holy shit. I definitely do not think most nuns are like that. As a matter of fact, none of the other nuns in the movie are like that at all.
Yeah.
Mother Superior is on a different level.
She's a nightmare.
Billy Judd, hey, how about Tim Burton's Beetlejuice? It follows Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis as a ghost couple named Adam and Barbara Maitland, who try to get some people out of their house. Yeah, Beetlejuice is a great movie, but definitely everybody knows about Beetlejuice. Definitely gets the attention it deserves, I think. Dragon Blue says, why have I not seen Night of the Demons 2? Gonna have to correct that. It's a good one. Let's see. Let's see. I have the distinct memory of yelling at the TV, run. I think that happens a lot. But alright, Briggs, man, that's all the comments.
It's been good chatting with you again, Bo. Good talking about these gems. Might make a video about a couple of them someday.
Yeah, it'd be fun to do some reviews on them. At the least, you know.
Anybody who's got an idea for that, feel free to drop it off in the comments.
Absolutely, and we have definitely included some of these movies on some of the list videos we've done, like Horror's Most Tragic Romances, Best Weapons. You know, we've talked about these movies before, but they definitely deserve more attention, and that's why, you know, they're the topic of this podcast, man. We feel like more people need to see them.
For sure. Like, I hope I got somebody interested in some of the ones that I've talked about. They're absolutely worth checking out. They're off the beaten path. But we're talking about great films, great scares, and great effects, and hardly anybody's watching these things. They deserve to be a part of your collection, I feel.
Absolutely, and we will continue to give them more attention in the future. But we are enjoying the podcast so far. Both of us. So it looks like Thursday at 8 o'clock, there may be another episode of TalkHorror Live coming to these peoples to tickle their eargasms, Briggs. What do you think about that?
I can't think of a more pleasant experience, Mr. Bojangles.
Oh yeah, we're just gonna have to come up with another topic. I know we've been throwing around some ideas, but if anybody has anything they'd like to toss into the bucket, leave it in the comments. And because we're not set right now, you know, we have some front runners, but we're definitely not set on anything yet.
So, whatever it is, we'll enjoy talking about it with you. I hope you'll tune in next Thursday.
Oh yeah, but until then, Briggs, look horror,
listen horror,
talk horror. See y'all next time, man. Thank y'all for coming in. Have a good night. And thank you for being part of this, Briggsy.
You're very welcome. I'm always glad to join up with my partner in crime.
Oh yeah. See you next week, brother.
See you then, Bo.